Yeah. Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahweh Shai, Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahweh Shai, Kahaloyim Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the Four Winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever. The hope for the elect. Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold. To you sisters, you Akwathium, who have come back to the fold, listening under your husband or your spiritual leader in obedience and in silence. Shalom. Right? This your brother Ram Yahweh with the lesson. And yeah, it says mass mandates, right? The DOJ, which means the Department of Justice, is reluctant to continue defending the CDC mask mandate because it worries it will lose again, right? Because what? They're going to come down with great wrath, knowing that they got but a short time by using this mask mandate and all these different other mandates, and they're going to bring it back, and this next lockdown is going to be worse than before. So they're worried about losing it because it's not going to look right in the eyes of the people if they go to court again and then lose and then still push the issue of pushing mass mandates, because it's going to make them look bad, and then people are going to buck up a lot sooner, and it's not going to be able to to gradually get to where they needed to be at, where people will be more willing to give up their freedom in order for so-called safety. Peace and safety than sudden destruction, right? So yeah, right. And continuing, this is the Hill, the DOJ, which is Department of Justice, to appeal mass ruling after CDC requests, right? The Department of Justice, right, which is the DOJ, on Wednesday said it would appeal a ruling striking down the mask mandate for public transportation after the Center of Disease Control and Prevention requested to appeal it in light of days assessment by the CDC Gov that on other requiring masks in transportation, what is it called? Crawled remains necessary to protect public health. The department has failed to note of appeal. Where's that one? I seen something. Where was what you? Where did that thing go? Because this thing, we're like, where did it go? I seen something. Oh, right here. While the mask mandate will remain, when mask mandate will remain suspended for the time being and likely are going to expire soon anyway, right? So they're going to bring it back. A major reason public health experts have pushed for a repeal is to preserve the CDC's legal authority for the future, right? Yeah, this is 2 Kings 20, starting at top, verse 1. In those days, Hezekiah, sick unto death, and the prophet Isaiah, the son of Amos, came to him, right? And that's kind of like what we're doing as, men of the Lord on the highways and the byways, or doing these digital epistles, these, these streams, these, these epistles, these digital epistles, and say unto him, though thus saith Yahweh, right? And now that we know Yahweh Shai came, and he's on the right hand of the Father, and is the Lord giving him all judgment under him. Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai set thy house in order, for thus shall die and not live. Right? Because we're coming into that time where people are going to die and not live, right? And then he turned his face to the wall and prayed unto Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai, saying, I beseech you, which means please or beg thee, O Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai, remember now how I have walked before thee in truth, right? And then you got to think, a lot of you that's out there cannot say that. You can't say you walk before the Lord in truth, right? But yet he turned towards the wall, right? Which is, turning towards the east. Matter of fact, let's get that, because a lot of you don't know how to pray, right? So-called Christians, you got vocab no class Malone, and he's out there trying to tell you, but he don't even know how to pray. And a lot of you so-called Christians don't know how to pray. You're make-believe Christians, and you don't know how to pray. So, the Christians don't know how to pray, don't know, what it is. So this is 2 Chronicles 6 and 20. That thy eyes may be open, right? It's talking to the Lord, right? It's a prayer to the Lord from Solomon. If you come to this and read the rest of it, and this Solomon's prayer, that thy eyes may be open upon this house, right? Which is the temple that Solomon built for the Lord, because David wanted to, but the Lord said that Solomon would build it, right? Which, if you have ears to hear, Solomon is Yahushai, which Yahushai is building the temple again, but this time it's without hands, right? Right? The rock without hands too. That's right. That's chiseled without hands, which is Yahushai. So, it says, upon this house, day and night, upon the place whereof thus has said that thus would put thy name, right? Which deals with Yasha Allah, right? Or, Jerusalem, right? Which means city of peace, because when you go into the Most High, he will be the King of peace, and Yahweh Shai will be the Prince of peace, right? So it's Lord will place thy name there to hearken unto the prayers which thy servants prayeth towards this place. So what place is that? That's the temple, which is in Israel. So being that we're here, we face the east. But if you were somewhere else, you will face, it might be north, it might be south, it might be east, it might be west, but towards the temple, right? So hearken therefore unto the supplications of thy servants and of thy people Israel, which is basically synonymous with it being Israel. The servants is Israelites. Thy people is Israelites, which they shall make towards this place here thus from the dwelling place, even from heaven, and when thus hear it forgive, right? There was something else I noticed. The so-called Christians, they don't know to pray towards the temple, right? And it's also this right here. It says, now therefore, O Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, power of Israel, keep with thy servant David, my father, kept with my father David, thy servant David, my father, Slakia, that which thus has promised him, saying, there shall not fail thee a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Israel, yet so that thy children take heed on their way to walk in my law, as thus has walked before me. So basically, the Lord said that there always be somebody from David's lineage on the throne, right? So when you deal with those so-called Jewish, so was it Benton not a Jew? Was he from the was he from the lineage of David? Their so-called president now, is he from the lineage of David? Right? No. Matter of fact, what else that says if, just skipping down, if thy people Israel be put to the worse before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee, and shall return and confess thy name. Okay, so where's the name of the Lord? It can't be Hashem. So where's the name of the Lord? So there's no, forget the point that because really it should be David there, right? But okay, let's play pretend with them. At least there's supposed to be somebody from the lineage. It's always, the Lord promised there will always be somebody from the David's lineage to be on the throne of Israel. Where's that at? So, and then where's the name of the Lord? Right? And we know it's not Hashem. We know it's not Yahweh. We know it's not Yeshua. We know it's not Jehovah. We know it's not none of those things. So right? And pray and make supplication before thee in this house, when hear thus from heaven, and forgive the sins of thy people, right? So sin is what? Transgression of the law. And the people of thy people, and bring them again to the land which thus gave to them and their father, right? So where's everybody in this whole thing of the kingdom of heaven, right? Because that's basically the kingdom of heaven, right? It says, then hear thus from heaven, and forgive the sins of thy servants and thy people Israel, when thus has taught them the good way, right? Which that's what's happening right now, right? Through Abba Bibbins, making the fathers to the children, and the children back to the fathers, right? According to prophecy, right? Which vocab can't understand about reincarnation or regeneration, right? Okay, and has taught them the good way, wherein they should walk, and send rain upon thy land, which thus has given unto thy people for an inheritance, right? Yeah, this is 1 Kings 8, and this is basically the pretty much like the same prayer that Solomon was doing. This is like a prayer, so you can go into it. It's a good way to have like a precept to back up what that was. So this is 1 Kings 8:33. When thy people Israel, right, not the whole world, be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned, right, which sin is transgression of the law, against thee, and shall turn again to thee, right, and confess thy name, right, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Rakakwadash, right? It's not any of those other names, right? And pray and make supplication unto thee in this house, right? Which we know the temple is torn down, but it said earlier that if you pray towards that house, right, then hear thus in heaven, and forgive the sins of thy people Israel, right, not the whole world, and bring them again unto the land, right, because basically we're scattered all over the place back then and even now, right, and thus giveth unto, which thus gave unto their fathers, when heaven is shut up and there is no rain, because they have sinned against thee. If they pray, towards this place, right, which is facing towards the east or the north, or south or west or whatever, but facing towards what? The temple, or facing towards Israel, right? And confess thy name, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, and turn from their sins, when thus afflicted them, right? Okay, yeah, so we back here, 2 Kings chapter 2, and we're going to pick up on verse 3. Before thee in truth and in perfect heart, right? Right? Following the Lord with all thy heart, thy mind, thy soul. And I always wonder how could you do that? But when you deal with that, the law, statutes, and commandments is a way of life, and those are actually being obedient and following after the Most High in your everyday living. That is your mind, your body, your soul. Like, that's everything, right? Keeping the commandments, right, to the best of your ability, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore, and it came to pass after afar was afar Isaiah was gone out into the middle court, that the word of Yahweh came to him, saying, turn again and tell Hezekiah, the what captain, right? Which Hezekiah was what? A descendant of what? Of David, right? Captain of my people Israel. Thus saith Yahweh, power of David thy father. What? Yeah, so there you go. That proves that he was a descendant of David, right? So where's the guy that's in so-called Israel today that's a descendant of David that's sitting on the throne? You know what I mean? You so-called Christians are a joke. You know what I mean? I have heard thy prayer. I have seen thy tears. Behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. I will heal thee on the third day. Ooh, that third day. Thus shall go up upon the house of Yahweh. Right? And there's that house. Talking about the temple. Right? Right. And I will add unto the days 15 years, and will deliver thee and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and will defend this city for my own sake, for my servant David's sake, right? Which we're dealing with this. This is where we're going into, which really is dealing with the elect, because the elect is trying, the elect is, the hopeful elect, should I say, is looking forward to having the sure mercies of David, right? And that's really only talking about the elect, right? Because that's perfect. Because what? The Lord said the Assyrians, which the modern day Syrians is Esau, right? Spiritually. The modern day Assyrians is Esau, right? So we're coming into that same time, but the Lord's only dealing with what? The house of David, right? It says Isaiah chapter 55 verse 1, ho, every one that thirsteth, come ye to the water, right? And the water, what is this word? And that's basically what we've been telling you, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, right? And you Israelite foreigners around the world, right? That come to this water that you may drink. And of course, you know, like they say, you can lead them to water, but you cannot make them drink. We can lead you so-called Native Americans, these so-called Hispanic, you so-called basically native tribes, you know, you so-called Mexican, Puerto Rican, Native American, right? Because the indigenous tribes, right? Because the so-called Native American is not the only indigenous tribe, right? The other tribes, you know, Asher, you know, Issachar, Naphtali, Reuben, right? All these other tribes, you know, Ephraim, all basically here, the 10 tribes. So we can lead you. You could think it's just a black thing, or you got these so-called black people who call themselves black and fall into the narrative of the enemy. Why? That's how you know it's a narrative. It's a spin why they want to call us black Hebrew Israelites, when we know that we're just Israelites. There's no such thing as black Hebrew Israelites, right? Though they did call what Barnabas, right? And is it Peter? Peter and Barnabas, what, the black man, or Niger or nigger, right? Which means basically black, right? Even in their, their scholars have broken down to it being the black man, but they're still Israelites. There's no such thing as a black man. We're just Israelites. So getting into this, we have led you to this water, right? But we can't make you drink, right? You could think you're an Egyptian and from Africa, or you could just say that you're native, right? Because even these so-called black people are into this. We're the indigenous people, but okay, well, if that's cool, we have the indigenous people on our chart. You still got it. Law, statutes, commandments, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, period. Right? So it says, and he that have no money, right, which a lot of our people don't, come ye, buy and eat. Ye come buy wine, right, which is the word with the scriptures, right, which is dealing with the doctrine, and milk, right, which is things that nourish you, which is good for you, which is just the scriptures, without money and without price, right? Because the Lord basically paid the price, Yahweh Shai. He paid the price, right? He spilled his blood on the cross for you, so you could come and receive this and basically pay for it without a price at the same time, because the prices was already made. Okay, if you can understand. Wherefore do ye spend money for that which is not bread, right? Because the word is bread, and even the Lord spoke to the disciples and the other disciples, the other 70 disciples, and said his body was the bread, to eat of his bread, but they got offended. A lot of them got offended and walked away. He was like, man, this dude talking about eating him and cannibalism and eating blood or something. They thought it was a bugged out thing. But he was speaking spiritual, that he's the bread. He's the bread. He's the manna. He's the bread of life, right? Which, because the volume of the book is bread, right? It's spoken of him. And your labors for that which satisfieth not, right? Because you go to these Christian churches, you give real money. You do all sorts of real hardcore labor. You're doing a lot of things, but it's not the truth. So it's in vain. Hearken diligently unto me, right? Through the men of the Lord that's out there on the highways and the byways, and eat ye that which is good, right? Which is the true doctrine, right? Not black. We give you to that because that's the simplicity that Esau is giving you within this world. So we know Esau, so-called white man, you so-called African American, which are so-called black, or you so-called indigenous tribes, which are Israelites, right? Which are the 10 tribes. You're so-called these things. So we give those narrative because that's the narrative that the devil has given. So we're trying to wash by the washing of the word, by the water by the word, or giving you to the wine or the bread to nourish you, right? So it says, which that is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness, right? With the real truth, the real true breakdowns, and not according to Satan, which is vocab Malone, and then whatever other people want to bring up this plantation Christianity doctrine. Incline your ears and come unto me, which through the prophets, through the men what the Lord has set up here, and your soul shall live, right? Kind of like Hezekiah. He did the prayers. He said, Lord, I walked in your statute. I walked in the things that you were well pleased in. And that's ultimately what the Lord is saying to do. Walk, you know what I'm saying? And you will live. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. And that's ultimately what we're here to do, to have the sure mercies of David dealing with the elect. And that's ultimately what it was talking about. There should always be a man on David's throne, which is going to be Yahushua, and actual King David's going to be on his throne. Yeah, right? And then you have the 144,000, which King David has to be one of those. And then you got the 1/3, and then the kingdom of heaven, and then and then the 1,000 years, and then heaven is forever after that, right? Behold, I have given him for a witness to the people and leaders and commanders to the people, right? And who's the witness? When you go into what you call them, the two witnesses that's in Revelation, which deals with what the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, which is also Masha and high priest Ariah, or you do Zerubbabel and Joshua, right? Through faith. I mean, if you understand. So, and when you deal with King Masha or high priest Ariah, which was going to put on that the clean garment, when he put on that clean garment, that's when it's going to be the sealing of the elect. And that's when that's going to be the thing where the elect is sealed, when he put on the clean garment and start teaching the right doctrine, and not that the Edomites can be saved, right? Once he put on that clean garment, it's going to be finished, and it's going to be a glorious day, right? But we set him as a witness, not only him, but with Yahushua, but dealing with the men of the Lord, is also as a witness. Behold, thus shall call a nation that which knoweth not, right? Because that's what we became. We became a nation that didn't know what nation we were, or what people we were. A nation that knoweth not thee shall run unto thee, because Yahweh thy power, and for the Holy One of Israel, for he have glorified thee. And that's ultimately what we're doing to you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. We're telling you about a nation that you didn't know nothing of, that's actually who you are. You're the Israelites, you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, to come back unto this, right? Before the coming doom, because Esau's going to come down with great wrath using this so-called medical thing as if he cares, right? But using these mandates, right? Because it's about to get turned all the way up. It says, yeah. And for the Holy One of Israel, for he have glorified thee, right? Because ultimately, when you come back to this, the Lord's going to glorify you, right? Dealing with the right doctrine. Yeah, so the Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 17, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth, and give them, right, you Israelites, you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, you Israelite foreigners, warning from me, right? Because ultimately the Lord is a gracious and merciful Father, being that he's saying, look, I'm giving you a grace period, and the grace period is get yourself together, get your house in order, right? Or you're gonna die. You know what I mean? So he's saying, get yourself together, or you're gonna die. It's pretty much the same thing. So we're here to warn you, right? So this is Ezekiel 33:17. Yet the children of my people say, which are you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, you Israelites, right? Say the way of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is not equal, right? This is what you Israelites be saying. You know, God, and he does this, and and blah 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 blah, and God ain't coming back, or you got whatever excuses you got, whatever things, I believe in God, but I don't know, I just don't think, life is fair, or whatever, however you may look at it, but as for them, their way is not equal, right? So you're saying that the Lord is not equal, but the Lord allowed his only begotten son to die for you, to give you a chance. And then he's saying, look, repent. I'm giving you warning. Get your houses in order. Get yourself together. And then he gave you scourges to give you warning, right? It says, yet but as for them, let me skip down to 20, and it says, yet ye say the way of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is not equal, O ye house of Israel. I will judge you, because that's ultimately the Lord is the judge. I will judge you, every one after his ways. So basically, there's no escape. So you could say he's not this, he's not that, but it doesn't matter. And he gave you fair warning. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 19. Behold, right, famine and plague, right? So, there's already famine in certain places in the world, right? And, the whole world is so-called have been locked down over a plague until all of a sudden there's a war in the middle in Ukraine or whatever it is, right? But they're going to go back to that, right? Lock it all down. So the plague is all around the whole world, but there's going to be more plagues, because the Lord said he's going to smite Egypt as he did before, right? Tribulation, right? Because everybody's, look, you're gonna go through the worst tribulation real soon, Jacob's trouble, right? And anguish, right? So the Lord's these certain things is happen. You see famine, you see earthquakes, you see all these different things. Tribulation, anguish are sent as scourges for amendment, right? The Lord has said, he said, sent these scourges for an amendment, right? Scourge. A whip used as an instrument for punishment, which Yahweh Shai got that for us. But also what? Did you not was your ancestors not in slavery and get whipped? Right? And then the native tribes be like, oh, well, that never happened. No, that happened to you too. Right? How soon we forget. Right? So-called indigenous tribes, yeah, it happened to you too. Right? Because the Lord punished us. He allowed the so-called white men to come conquer you and damn near wipe you out. Take your land, take your cattle right in front of you, take your women right in front of you. You think that's not a punishment? That's a scourge. So this says amendment, right? A minor change or addition designed to improve, right? So the Lord did it to improve you so-called Israelites' behavior. But guess what? you didn't change, right? So he did it as a way to get you to go, oh, wait a minute, I think I need the Lord, right? To get you to improve yourself, right? But the Lord said you ain't always mindful of these scourges, all these different things, and people die every day. People getting shot and killed, ran over by cars, planes dropping out of the sky. You could die any day. Some people go to sleep and don't wake up. Like, you know, you're not mindful of the scourges, right? The punishments that the Lord sends around the world on a daily basis, right? The Lord said he judgeth every day, right? Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 20. But for all these things, right? For all the punishment that the Lord has put upon you, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, for an amendment to approve your behavior, for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, neither be always mindful of those scourges, of those punishments. Right? Murder, suicides, all sorts of crazy things. Wrong way drivers on the freeway, killing 3 and 4 and 5 people, making a 6-car, 7-car, 10-car pile up, killing bunches of people at one time. It's gonna get a lot worse, man. When people lose everything, like the elders say, when people lose everything, they lose it. So we have to come in the mindset that we're already dead. We already lost all these things in the world. This world is not our world. This is Psalms chapter 18, verse 13. Arise, O Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Disappoint him, right? Who's the him? It's talking about Esau, Edom. Esau is the end of this world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, right? Malachi, was it 1 and 4, right? Esau is the border of wickedness, which is thy sword, right? Dealing with the elect. The elect is going to be saved from that sword. But you that didn't put your house in order, yourself in order, to repent and basically and get that doctrine, the right wine, the correct wine, the right bread, right? And you dealing with all these wayward doctrines, I mean, you're going to get the sword. Right? This is Isaiah chapter 10, verse 5. It says, O Assyrian, the rod of my anger, right? Which the spiritual, the Assyrian today is what? Esau, Edom, which is the Lord's sword, right? Which, you know, is Edom. And the staff in their hand is my indignation, right? Which is basically the rulership, right? Because Esau's the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of that followeth, right? And I will send him against an hypocritical nation, which is talking about you Israelites, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the streets, which is talking about you Israelites. The Lord has allowed Esau to destroy us, right? Which are you so-called indigenous tribes, which act like you haven't been into slavery and Esau didn't devour you, and you try to look down on the so-called what they call black or African American, which are really actually Israelites just like you. They're just from, you know, the Southern Kingdom, right? So that's all. You're gonna get punishment, man. And the Lord said, warn you guys for him, and that's ultimately what we're doing. You got to get yourself together. Yeah, well, I don't know. What it? Howbeit he meaneth meaneth not so, neither doeth his heart think, right? Which your heart, which is your mind. That's how you know that the heart is your mind, right? Heart think so, but it is in his heart, in his mind, to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. So it's not just going to be a little bit of you guys that be destroyed. It's going to be a lot of you Israelites that's ultimately going to be destroyed, but other nations also. You're gonna be in the mix of this Jacob's trouble. Yeah. So this is Ezekiel 21:9. Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, say a sword is sharpened, right? Dealing with was it Rex 84 or the Jade Helm or whatever, these type of things that you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people do not look up or know about. Even me saying it, it's oblivious to you. It goes over your head, which you probably can't even find nothing on it anyway. But those things did exist, and they sharpened that. Those were things that they were sharpened. The blacked out helicopters in every city practicing drills on coming down upon you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, which that's something else you probably don't know, though it was on the news in every city in America, right? But ultimately it's talking about the ICBM missiles. But Esau in itself, through his military, through his drones, through even, through the the CV-19 is a sword, right? It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished, right? It's ready to go. It's furbished, ready to go. That it may glitter. Should we then make mirth, right? Which that's ultimately what you're doing. TikTok, Facebook, just, whatever you could do to be in folly, or you're so-called a man of the Lord and say that it's okay to lay with another man's wife, or John the Baptist is not in the truth, or you can have sex on Sabbath, or you could just do whatever amount of wickedness to come to your mind, and you guys can say that Yahushua never walked on water, and I mean, the craziest things, Moses never split the Red Sea. Whatever craziness you guys wants to come out with, which is, like I was saying, that tainted doctrine. It's not the right wine, not the correct bread or water or milk. Those are all spoiled. It's spoiled milk. That's spoiled milk. That's tainted water. That's some bad wine. Not good, right? You gotta get the right one, the right, correct doctrine, right? Which GMS has 100% pure, clean. What do they call it? It's filtered, whatever. Whatever the so-called it's real water. The best water that you can get. It's real water, right? You can get the your 10 HPs or whatever it's called. But yeah, it conteneth my rod of my son, right? Because they ultimately they'll go against Yahweh Shai, as every tree, right? And that goes into like another thing where men are trees. You go into Genesis, and it's talking about all these different things. Why people think that the Lord only made Adam. A lot of times those trees and stuff, we're talking about men, and then they were also trees too, but you got to have understanding, but and he have given it to be furbished, right? He allowed the so-called white man to conquer you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. And he have given it to them to be furbished, right? Starting with Teeman, right? With their Albert Einstein saying that this next war would, with these bombs, which that at the time they only made atomic. They didn't even make nuclear, but he was saying that then the next war after that will only be fought with sticks and rocks, which that's not true, because there's not going to be any wars anymore once we get into power. So, but basically, the Lord used Teeman to make these missiles, basically, which is Isaiah 54 and 16 or 17, something like that. And he have given it to be furbished, that it may be handled, right? This sword is sharpened. It is furbished to give it into the hand of the slayer, which is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, which we know as the wicked, right? Cry and howl, son of man, for it shall be upon my people, right? Which are the Israelites, you so-called Black, Hispanic. That sword is coming to you. Shall be upon my people. It shall be upon all the princes of Israel, right? Terrors by reason of the sword, which is the Lord. The Lord's sword is Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. Shall be upon my people, smite therefore upon thy thigh. Let you know punishment is coming. I don't know if you remember, well, I don't know, when I was a kid, your grandma would carry a wooden spoon and you be acting up in church. She'll look at you and she'll hit her own thigh with the wooden spoon to let you know, like, you next. This is what you're gonna get. So this is basically what the Lord is showing Ezekiel to do. Smile on his thigh, let him know, you in trouble. You're in trouble. Hey. 2nd Esdras chapter 15, verse 10. Behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. My people, which are the Israelites, is led as a flock to the slaughter, right? The slaughterer, which is Esau, Edom. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, which the modern day Egypt is what? America, or spiritually America. When you go into Revelations, what is it, 11 and 8, which is spiritually Sodom and Egypt, which America has to be that place, which is spiritually Sodom and Egypt, right? But I will bring them with a mighty hand, which is talking about the elect. I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt, right? Saving the elect. But when in Egypt, what came? The angel of death, which is Yahushai. Smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. And the Lord didn't destroy the whole entire land of Egypt, but he is going to do it to this second Egypt, or the spiritual Egypt, which is America, right? Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, right? Which dealing with the elect, and ye that dwell in them, right? Dealing with the righteous, dealing with the right doctrine. Because why? Because this coming of all the destruction and all these different things is for our benefit, realistically. Woe, but woe with destruction to the inhabitants there of the earth and the sea, which sea goes into people, for the devil, which is the accuser, right? Which that's what vocab is doing, because it goes into it also goes into chronicalizing them. So that's why he's chronicalizing us. This is these so-called Hebrew Israel, and these are more radical, and these are more this, and he's categorizing us, right? Which goes into false accuser too, right? Is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time, right? And that's him being this sword of the Lord, or this rod for the Lord's punishment or his indignation, coming down upon you Israelites and leading you as a flock to the slaughter, right? Through these so-called plagues and pestilence as an excuse to say that they have some health ordinance, really to lead you to the MOTB, right? Ultimately. But the Lord has a protection for the elect. Yeah, but the Lord is going to protect the elect. So this is Ezekiel 25:12. Thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, power, because that Edom, which is Mount Seir, right, have dealt against the house of Judah, right? Matter of fact, let's go up here a little quick, because it says, thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, because that Moab and Seir, right, which goes into Mount Seir, which is Edom, do say, behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention, the house of Judah is like unto all the heathen. So that's why you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians are mixed into all these different ideologies. But guess who set that up? Easter, which just passed by, Christmas, and all these different things, Mother's Day and stuff, all that stuff that's getting ready to come up, that you guys are going to still constantly trying to do, when the men of the Lord has basically tried to give you warning from the Lord that he's going to destroy you for following this stuff, Juneteenth and all this other nonsense, that Martin Luther King Day and all this other stuff that goes into basically idol worshiping, going back to ancient deities and gods and basically heathenistic ways, right? So basically you became heathens too, because you follow into the ways of Balaam, right? So it says but yeah, thus down to 12, back to 12. Thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, because that Edom, right, which is Seir, same thing as Seir, have dealt against the house of Judah, right, which not just Judah, dealt with the northern kingdom too, by taking vengeance, and have greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, which is the self-proclaimed so-called white man. We're only saying that to give you understanding, because they're just Edomites. They've never, before proclaiming themselves to be white in Virginia or wherever it was at, in their own court system that they did on stolen land, you know what I'm saying? and will cut off man and beast from it, and will make it desolate from Teman, right? I was telling you about Teman. They're the ones who made the missiles, right? Made the atomic bombs, made the ICBM missiles, or even now they got this so-called supersonic missile, right? Hypersonic missile, right? That came from Teman. So the Lord said He's going to destroy all of them, from them even to Teman, right? And they of Dedan shall fall by my sword, which is this sword. Now is going to be what? The Israelites, because the Lord gave you the power, and now those wicked of Israel or Judah, well, basically all of Israel, but it said Judah, but it's really all of Israel that you made to be like the heathen, which the Lord is going to destroy them. He's going to kill them, and He's going to allow you to kill them, right? But now, after He does all that, the righteous Israelites that's still there, the Lord is going to make them His sword against you, right? Shall fall by my sword, which is the Israelites now, and I will lay my vengeance upon Edom. So it's not going to be our vengeance. You took it upon yourself to have vengeance, but this is going to be the Lord's vengeance upon you, not our vengeance. That's why all this vocab said, whoa, you're gonna do this and this. Won't you do it right now? We can't do it right now because it's not our vengeance. You cannot do something that don't belong to you, right? It's the Lord's vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people, Israel. See, that proves that we're going to be the Lord's sword. And they shall do in Edom according to my anger, not our own anger, according to the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai's anger, according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Right? Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 19. The portion of Jacob is not like them, right? When you're dealing with the elect, they're not like those other Israelites that are like unto the heathen, that in all their ways they're like the heathens. Well, these Israelites, this portion of Jacob is not like them, the one the Lord allow you to be the sword and to destroy them, right? For He is the former of all things, right? So everything comes from us, right? Which we already know that. You can look at everything, blues, jazz, rock and roll, the elevator, the car, the stoplight, the telephone, everything you people really actually do came from Israel, right? But it's gonna go back to that, but then you're gonna know where it actually came from, where that we're actually the form of all things. And Israel, what? Hey, wait, because the Lord said the Assyrian was the rod of his anger, right? And Israel is the rod of His indignation or inheritance. Slakia is the rod of His inheritance. So now Israel is the Lord's rod, right? And Yahweh of hosts, which means armies, right, is His name. Dealing with military might, because that's what Esau think he has. But ultimately, the Lord is the one who gave it to you, but He's going to be the one that take it from you and give it to the Israelites. Thus are my battle axes. Who is? The Israelites. Israel is my rod. So it's going into what? Thus are my battle axes and weapons of war. And the Lord, it says the Lord of hosts. Right? For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, right? with his indignation, with his vengeance. Not you going to, won't you do it now? And with thee will I destroy kingdoms. So that's dealing with the elect. Though you may destroy all those other Israelites and kill them, but the portion of Jacob is not like them. Kohaloyim Yahweh Basham, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, right? The elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold. Shalom to you sisters, you Akwathium, who are under your husbands or your spiritual leaders. Listen in silence. Shalom. Hey, death to America.